divide that up into quadrants or, sections, it seems like maybe the second largest for growth potential. That southwest probably is growing maybe more than the northwest part of the county, but definitely we're seeing big growth in those areas that you mentioned, far west Plains.
That's a very astute criticism of the 5-year plan that doesn't accommodate that growth in the northwest part of the county.
And so that brings up one of the discussions I think that we need to have as a commission. And again, let me just back up and touch on something Commissioner Bell said. I know that many of you here in the audience may think, gosh, these guys take a long time to figure this stuff out. Well, I hope that you understand that that's our responsibility and our duty. We want to take these things seriously and dive in. We do individual work as much as we can, but we do our work in public meetings and as a group. And so, as Commissioner Bell said, that's why we're here asking these questions and trying to figure this all out instead of going the three of us together into a room somewhere and hammer that out. That's not the way that the law's written. It's not the way that we function. So it may seem long, and I apologize for that, but we do want to work through it the best we can. So one of the things that I am concerned about, or that I think we ought to have discussed as a commission, is a good policy for us to authorize a large bond like this that covers a lot of projects, or not authorize, but to authorize for ballot. A large bond that covers a lot of different projects, or are we better off going individually to the public as we desire one of these things? Project by project, what's the, what are the benefits, pros and cons of both of those? Now, I think there's been a significant case made today in that several of these go together. Maybe all, but at least the Roy branch and the Ogden Main branch, and maybe it's coordination. That could probably be said as well of adding a Plain City branch or a Far West branch to that mix. But it all does kind of work together. But I'm interested in what the commission might have to say about that direction. Also, I think another thing that we have to address as a commission is, are we comfortable with the overall cost of this proposal? And then finally, to me, I think one of the real difficulties that, as I've worked through this, is, are we comfortable with the June election and the vote by mail election? Those are tough ones for me. We've had, especially coming on the heels of the legislative action that has just taken place. Are we comfortable with proceeding with a June initiative? And then I think, well, let me just throw that back to the commission and ask if there are comments on any of those items, because those are items that I need to come to grips with before I move forward.
Can I ask you a question, Commissioner Leibnizer? You've been involved in this process for a few years, been on the commission here. Has there been any other thing that in the 6 years you've been there comprehensive like this in the library?
The needs of the library have been known. The failing infrastructure did not become as evident until I'd say maybe the last 2 years, something like that. I mean, we knew it was aging, but we were also very proud of the fact that it was maintained so well. Commissioner Dearden, who served with me before, we had several conversations about the library and the current situation before his term ended. What we had hoped to have happen was that the main branch would be able to continue operating without these failures for a period of years in order for us to retire the jail bond and then just pick up and assume that spot with the needs of the library. And I have to say that the library needs have, there's been no money invested into the library system for some period of time. We did the Pleasant Valley branch, there was that one, but you look at how long those buildings have served us, and there really has not been investment into libraries. And they're serving us well. So I would say that, yes, we were aware that there were some needs, there have been discussions. We were hoping that the main branch, but I can tell you right now, and especially after the audit that we received, I feel like we're like living on borrowed time. And as I see some of the reports that come in, which I've been forwarding to the other commissioners, I don't keep that information to myself, the reports that we get on the current status of what's filled next have become quite interesting, and it's just a real concern. We really need to address it. So I think the urgency of the June outweighs what the legislature did this last session, because they can undo it next time anyway. Anything they do, they can undo. They can reverse it the next time, depending on what the rationale was for the decision. And so I'm not as concerned about the June election. I do want to get voter turnout. And I'll tell you what, the state is so concerned about getting voter turnout. And I'll tell you what, looking at the number of people that showed up to the meeting today, I think this is going to drive our voter turnout. This could be one of the record June elections just because of the issue that's on the bond today. Another thing that I need to bring up, in our county commission meetings, prior to doing the budgets, the library board came to the commissioners at that time. Commissioner Gibson and I and Commissioner Dearden were serving at that time, and they came to us with a proposal, with a plan. And their request at that time, their proposal was that we allow the county, that we have the county increase the library tax rate to its maximum amount to produce some dollars so that they could start in on some of the needs. The commissioners at that time, and Commissioner Gibson, you were there, one, we wondered if that would produce enough to do what the library needs were. But the other one is we felt like if there was going to be a tax increase, it should go to the voters, and we encouraged the library at that time to put together their information, and that we would allow an election, allow this to go to the voters for an election. Now, I think that we've made a commitment that we would allow it to go to the voters. And so I think we need to keep that commitment. That probably more than answered what you said.
No, I appreciate that.
But I stay with it anyway.
Well, let me just respond to that by saying we never made a commitment to anybody that we would do this in June or November.
We did not
or
commit
next-
the month.
or
I
next
agree.
December or
We did
any
not
other time.
commit the month. We
So,
said to take it to a bond election.
I understand that, and I just want to make sure that the public understands that I keep my commitments, and one of the commitments that I made is that this ought to go to the public. Okay. Any other discussion?
Well, I agree totally. It needs to go to the public. We need to vote. I have a hard time with the June. I like the idea of the June because of something we can try. That's what I really like about it. I really like about it. I still am a little, building this 100,000 square foot library, which is almost 100,000 square, almost twice the size of one in Ogden out west, which we need to do one. I feel also that we've got all this empty space that the county already paid for. We've got 15,000 square feet that we already own, and it's space that we can have, and so I worry about that. I know personally I don't think I can make the final decision today. I don't know, Dave, if that's I know we're going to build libraries. I know I want to build libraries. I just need to get wrapped around the amount, and I know a lot of work's been done on this and this program out there, but it's $50 million. It's a lot of money that we're going to be saddled with, especially with the suggestion Commissioner Gibson had said maybe earlier, and hadn't really thought about that, is doing it one piece at a time. I don't know if that's a great idea. Question I've got, how much can we bond for the three of us without going to general election?
Well, it's the type of bond, Commissioner, that you do. You don't have to go to a GEO bond.
Right.
Generally, you go to a GEO bond when you want the public participation on it. So we're well beneath our bond limit in the county. That would be a question for Dan. But there's no trigger that you have to go to a GEO bond.
GEO bond is when we're elected by everybody, and, or we could do a bond like the Weaver Center bond or the Ogden Center bond, which is the commissioners did that, issued the bond themselves, am I not correct?
Yes, it's the municipal building authority
Okay.
on
Okay.
those summer sales tax bonds, so.
You know, there are a variety of different types of bonds out there, and we've had some discussions looking at, because there's, you know, we have to have a plan B. And so there is a variety of different bonding issues, because one way or the other, that library is going to have to be fixed.
Right.
The problem with fixing it is it doesn't expand it. It doesn't create anything to meet the current need. All it does is stop us from spending the money in repairing right now, but it does not move us any further forward in our 5-year plan at all. All it does is, it's a Band-Aid fix, what we've been doing. And by just addressing that building, that's what we're doing. Plus, we would also possibly, and I'm quite sure, have a missed opportunity on that prime land that has been donated out in the Roy area, which is perfect for the location of the library, with its location to the main thoroughfares, the front runner, the education that's all around that area as far as schools, junior high and elementary, and those that would be utilizing it. So, yeah, I think that we'd have a problem. You know, it's been addressed, you know, as to why we want to stage and where the savings is in the staging, and all of us, I wish this was less money. I wish it was less money. And in the meantime, if this goes, if the approval is given for us to go to a bond election, I would be diligently seeking other ways to reduce the cost, if there's any way to do that, so that the amount of the bond that goes for the question would be less than we have here, but I can't guarantee that. There's no way I can.
Who would control it? Who would decide if, let's say we put it on the ballot, it passed $50 million, and we wanted to cut it a little bit, I wanted to cut a little bit, or you did. Could you do that? Could we do that? Or is that something the library board would have to do?
That's a Dave question.
Just out of curiosity.
County still builds it. County would work with the library board in what they call value engineering. And I've heard the terminology where sometimes they decrease some of the amenities or things to reduce costs. But I'm not really qualified to say much about how that process goes, except that the county commission in the end has some authority in that respect.
So the donated property in Roy, are we trading the library we have there to someone, or is that still ours when we're sitting in?
It's in negotiation.
Okay,
We haven't sat down with the folks at Roy to determine exactly how that's going to take place.
so the property's a given, we get the property, even if we don't give them our own letter.
We haven't discussed that. My feeling is there will be a trade of the current property that is next to their water retention facility there for that property. The value of the trade would be many, many, many more times for Weber County than for Roy City. But I'm pretty sure they don't want us to sell that property to a nuisance neighbor when they have their water storage and likely want to want to expand that to the east side of where it's located.
So it's not donated property, it's a big portion of it's donated.
The major portion of it's donated. When you think about this location, it's right behind I-Omega on 4000 South, close to the front runner station. When you think about the value of property there per acre, 7.5 acres, and then you look at the property that Weber County Library is on, pretty much landlocked, not much frontage. EPA won't allow us to expand there because of the water facilities. No way to get in and out of the parking lot.
How many square foot is the Roy Library?
I think you can see there's a great advantage to Weaver County.
With the mayor here in the audience, you're not making a very good negotiation here, Linda.
Oh, the size of the Southwest branch?
Yes. I was just gonna,
It's about 11,000 square feet. Initially, we thought it was larger, but it's about 11,000 square feet. It was 5,000 square feet when it was first built, and then about 6,000 square feet added to it. Most of that in a large meeting room, but there was a small children's area.
so this
Village.
17,000 square foot is incorrect, it's 11,000.
It's about 11,000 square feet,
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, well, I would just like to thank you all for being here today. I know it's been long and painstaking. I hope that you're all appreciative, as I am, of the type of process we have, of the fact that we have a constitution that allows for individuals to be involved in this process. I think we do have a good system of government at the county level as well as others, and it's all dependent upon each and every one of us being engaged at whatever level we can. And the fact that you're here today means an awful lot to me about your place in that engagement. So we want to thank you for doing that and being a part of this. We're grateful that you all were a part of this process. All right, commissioners, would you like to take action?
I have a question for Dave Wilson. Dave, would it be possible to make, I hear some reluctance to make the decision today. We've had this information and been pondering it for some period of time. I don't know that any new information would come. We'd maybe just have time to study more, but would it be possible to make the decision on whether or not, we've got two deadlines here if I understand them. One is the bond, preparing for the bond, and the deadline would be April 2nd for that. That's the drop dead date is what you said. And the other one was for the elections, and I think it was right around the same, April 2nd, April 4th?
Same date.
Right around the same date. And so that is a commission meeting. Would it be possible to make part of this decision today to allow some of that to move forward and make the remainder at a future meeting?
You know, in response, I would say this, they're tied together, because when you approve a resolution for the bonds, you will also be approving the ballot language in that resolution.
Okay, so that would include the type of balloting and,
Well, I'm not sure how that works into that. I think it just includes the ballot language, but they've got to have that to send out to their printer. So I think that's still a drop dead date.
So,
Can we get it done in a week if the commission put it off till next week?
Well, let me ask,
what, Jen?
Wait.
Oh, go
I
ahead.
want to hear the answer to that question.
Sorry.
Yeah, we paid, I saw bond council out here because we have a 1
we have a
o'clock
1
meeting.
o'clock meeting.
Yeah, can we get it done that week? Probably. I would think so. That's what staff does. We march to the orders we're given and do that.
Now, did I understand your question to say do a vote that, yeah, we're gonna do a bond in June, but we haven't decided how much yet? Is that what the question you were
Well,
asking?
it was a variety of different things that had to
So-
be decided, but from what he's saying, you can't
You do it
piecemeal it. You
together.
need to do it all.
Well, I would make a motion that we put this on the next agenda, which is Tuesday, next Tuesday.
26.
The next
26th.
agenda, are we meeting? And it hasn't been canceled. So we're
So we're
meeting,
meeting.
and we also have a rather weighty discussion on that one in regards to Power Mountain. Is there no way that we could move forward in this meeting?
I can't move forward because it's just too much money right now.
The money won't change by next week.
Yeah.
Well, if we tell them how much money we're gonna give them, it will.
You could do that today.
And I don't know that I'm ready to do that today. I know we need to build libraries. I just can't, I just can't put $50 million out there today. I can't.
We need a second to the motion, probably to discuss it further. Are you willing to offer a second?
I'd be very reluctant, second,
Okay, I'll offer the second.
and it's
the sake of
only for discussion.
Okay, I'll offer the second for the sake of discussion. Further discussion to the motion.
Like I said, the 5.4 million in North Ogden just seems like a lot for a 10,000 square foot basement. I know we're doing other things, I got that. But I still wrap my head around, we've got plans already. We built one in the library out in the west, out in South End. We built 2 more like it, one in the main and one in the headquarters. I still don't see historical on that main branch in downtown Ogden. I can't. It just seems like a lot of money to redo that building. We're still gonna have water problems in that basement. Water problems are not gonna go away.
I think there's a plan to remedy that, and I know there's a plan to remedy that, or they wouldn't move forward with the building. But there was a rumor that was going around a couple months ago, and Ogden City caught wind of the rumor that we were talking about tearing down that building and possibly relocating it. And we had calls that were coming in. The council, the city council was up in arms. We've got an individual that's renovating the Golds, well, it was the Deseret Gym next to that. He is adamant that that is critical to the revitalization of that whole area is centered around that building. And whether you like the building or not, I can tell you it's not my favorite type of architecture. I've seen one picture or the other, and some I like better than the others, but I've never been drawn to the building. And so, and we're not, what we're talking about is something that's been in the community for a long period of time. There is some value to that in the community, and people are just not willing to let that go. I think that's going to be a hard-fought battle if you decide to tear down that building, as well as cost us more to do that. And we cannot expand on the footprint that's there, so you would be expanding someplace else in Ogden City, not on that location.
You mean Ogden won't let us expand on that footprint?
We cannot. There's problems with the land. It's unstable. There's some. That was part of the study. Was should we tear it down? Should we expand it? What should we do with it? And it cannot be expanded where it's at. That was my understanding.
My understanding was not that it was not a cannot, but maybe not cost effective. But anyway, that's probably it.
It can be expanded where it's at.
It cannot be.
It cannot be. That's what I understood.
Did you say, is it cost effective to expand where we are?
Is there possible to expand the building to the size that you need where you're at?
Well, we looked at that. We looked at adding an addition because initially that was what the library board thought might be a good option. Build an expansion. The architects looked at building an expansion on the east side and then on the north end. There were a lot of issues that came with that. First of all, if we expanded to that extent there, the amount of parking that we would need, the blacktop would pretty much eat up a major portion of Lester Park. But the other issue was when we did the testing of the soils, we found that the soils on the east side of the library were very unstable. And in the event of an earthquake, they would likely liquefy. Those things can be mitigated, as can the water table, which was within 5 feet of the surface when we tested it out there. They can be mitigated, but at great expense. And that's why the board abandoned the idea of adding on to that facility, because, first of all, I don't think Ogden City is going to be amenable to blacktopping their park. It does away with this historical nature of the building, because if you put an addition on the back and you realize that the beauty of that structure is looking out through the glass into the park, you take that away. You also, on the second floor, look down on a roof. And then you have the issue of extra expense to mitigate the kinds of soils and water table. So it made more sense, rather than build there, to just renovate that facility. And whether or not it's renovated, the county's going to have a facility that it's going to have to deal with. The asbestos is going to have to be abated. There are things that have to be done to that building. If it's torn down, that's something the community will weigh in on. If it's not torn down, whoever takes it over to renovate it will have those expenses. It made a lot more sense in our mind to go out west, put a basement there, and not deal with those expensive kinds of building projects and save money. Really, the whole concept of this plan was to save money for the county rather than expending it. It's not accurate to say we could build 2 Pleasant Valley libraries to accommodate the board's plan. The Pleasant Valley Library is going to serve fewer than 40,000 people. The west side's going to serve 3 times that. So a library the size and the scope of Pleasant Valley is a little bit like what we put in place in 1968 when we built the original Southwest Branch Library. It would be totally inadequate. If we were to build a library out there to serve the future needs of Roy, it would be exactly what is planned. The basement is just to take the pressure off of Main and allow us to go ahead there. This is kind of a delicate dance, and every time we try to change the rhythm or the beat or the step a little bit, we wind up stepping all over our own toes. It's not easy. And I think the dance steps that we've called out are not only the most graceful, but they're the most delicate and they're the most cost-effective. And they're the kind of steps that we don't have to buy steel-toed shoes to get through the music because, it will work.
Move along. Long answer, but I think that the answer was we could, but we probably shouldn't. Is that, with all those discussions. Okay. All right, we're back to the motion. Is there further discussion from the commission to the motion? Okay, I guess we'll vote.
Could I ask you a question? Will you have new numbers by next Tuesday?
I don't know if the question was for Mr. Bell or for myself, but, and I don't know whether we'll have new numbers, but I'll telegraph my vote here because I think it is important for, especially while there is still some time, that the commission feel extremely comfortable with moving forward with this decision. And with that said, if Commissioner Bell is concerned that he might have, that a week might answer some of his concerns, I'm going to vote to support the motion.
Well, and when this bond goes out there, I want to, when we get the bond out there, I want to stand up and support it 100%. I want this to happen. I don't want to go in there and say, oh, okay, I'll put it on the ballot and then go out and go against it. And that is what I feel like more than anything, that I need to be able to go out and support it. And I know I can't go out and support $50 million. I just think it is just so much debt. And I know we need to do some things. Even my question on the basement's still going to be the basement in the library up on Jefferson. We're still going to have a basement. We're still going to have a water problem there. No matter what, we're still going to have those issues there. And that's where I've got to wrap my brain around that a little bit. I've had some people call, absolutely, and I've talked to them in downtown Ogden. A couple of them want the old building, a couple of them don't care, they want the library. And so I'm kind of torn there. So that's where my thought is, and I need one more week. I'm glad I've got a lot of questions answered today that I've been writing down I've had them for quite a while, so it's helped me get a lot closer. But I still got some questions, and I'm still going to be, and I'll work real diligently on it next week.
Okay, out of respect for Commissioner Bell's diligence that he's put forth, that he's promised to put forth in the next week, I'll support that.
And I appreciate what the commissioner's been doing there. She's been working.
I have been working to try and lower the amount of money.
Right,
I
and we
have been
appreciate
meeting
that.
with individuals, we've been looking at bonding, we've been doing
Right.
our due diligence to try and lower
I
that.
appreciate that.
And,
And you have. From where the numbers started up, you've
well,
done great.
no, but we haven't made a real dent in it yet. But I think through what is it? I don't know what the term was, engineering. we can't cut the cost. I watched the Pleasant Valley branch. I came into this position at a time when the Pleasant Valley branch was at a position where the building was gonna cost more than the money they had. And I watched them reduce the cost, meeting by meeting, and still have an incredible building that right now is built in such a way that you can expand on that building. You can put in some of the things that they didn't put in at the time, but the building is still, nobody knows there's anything lacking. I know they've worked miracles with this, so I have full confidence.
Sounds good. Further discussion now? Does this need to be a roll call vote, Councilman? No? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 3 ayes. Okay, we move to the next item on the agenda, assignment of the Pledge of Allegiance and Vote of the Day for Tuesday, March 26, 2013, at 10 a.m. If my records are correct, Commissioner Togmaster is the Vote of the Day, is that true? You remember that? Okay. And Dave Hartman, are you still here? I thought I saw him. Dave, would you gonna be here next week? I heard him say yeah, didn't I?
Down there, so don't make a mess of your
I'm gonna
shop.
ask Dave Hartman. We got 30 seconds more of the meeting, if you can keep it down for just a second. I'm gonna ask Dave Hartman to offer the pledge for next week, so
Thank
we'll
you.
make that assignment. There is also on our agenda, one final item of public comment. We've already had an open meeting, but again, it's on the agenda, so is there anyone who would like to comment from the public? Okay, come on up.
Oh, now?
For now, okay. Anyone else who would like to, anybody else who would like to comment from the public? Okay, seeing none, then we'll move to our next agenda item, which is the final one. Is there a motion?
Yes, I make a motion, we adjourn?
Second.
Motion and a second, we adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.
Oh, that's right.